Welcome to the first episode of the UnAthletic podcast. My name is Ahira Foster. Today I have with me my co-hosts and co-founders of A-Game Media, Navar and Ahdi. We're going to be talking about doing the sports side of podcasts and what we got on different lanes. But today we're going to be talking about our experience with sports, what it means to us and how it affected our lives, even though we are the unathletic. Ahdi Navar, talk about like sports and how it affected you guys in your whole just lives in general.
Well, first I want to kind of just ask a quick question about can we share about what brought us to the unathletic and what was the idea behind?
Let's bring that back forward. Ahdi, talk about the first idea about the unathletic podcast.
So the three of us we just came to the realization that we have vast amount of experiences in various things, and so sports is like a common interest for all of us, right? Whether it's through following sports now, whether it's like football, basketball, whatever the sport may be, as well as kind of just growing up having played sports. That is like a common passion that we all share, and at the same time we also felt that I think it would be an interesting conversation, slash segue of a lane to incorporate into A-Game Media, which is kind of what we thought about, right? So
yeah, I think that's a good aspect. I think just building. I mean, the three of us, we have a great dynamic that I think that as we've talked about, we can speak to almost anything. And
Big Three.
Yeah, so the Three Musketeers or the Three Stooges, whichever you prefer.
Dumb and Dumber.
But
not one, not two, not three.
So
threesomes.
Bringing this to sports, so I think we all have some. Ahdi played badminton. Ahira played.
Hey man, I was undefeated in third grade. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry, we can't be saying that because badminton's an actual sport. I would play around with my friends back in high school like, badminton's not no sport. And it's like, what you mean?
It's legit, man.
It's legit.
That velocity on that thing.
It's hard trying to hit the
broke
frame.
so many little badminton rackets. That snap is vicious.
All right. Bring back forward.
Yeah, sports, man. Where do I start? Growing up, I played a vast amount of sports, whether it was baseball, tennis, soccer, volleyball. I picked up in college, but ultimately basketball has always been like my favorite sport. Growing up since fourth grade, whether it was like playing various YMCA leagues to kind of playing AAU, like more competitive, to high school and varsity, just kind of just even playing with friends. I think that's been it was probably my first true passion in life. Where it was like the love for the game. I was willing to do literally whatever it takes to get better, as well as it was kind of like a sacred place for me, where it's like if I was having a bad day or just some other stuff in my life weren't really solid, just going around just shooting shots, just playing the game was like a sacred place to me. So
Shoot
always
still put your shots
as
up.
a lefty, get that lefty stroke, but go Lakers. But no, I shoot left-handed, so just have to clarify. Y'all be really going the wrong way with that.
Just asking this legit question.
It's kind of long story short about me. Sports, how it's impacted me.
Yeah, I think so with myself, I think sports has always been something that I've always loved to do. I remember my earliest thought about doing anything athletic was when I actually ran track in second grade. We had this little track meet, and it was a day thing. It wasn't nothing serious, but I went out there, and my dad prepped me for this whole thing. He had us drinking what is it, spaghetti water.
Whoa,
because there's a ton of carbs in it, because when you actually boil spaghetti in the water, it just gives you a little bit more carbs, and so it gives you a little bit more fuel to burn. So, and to me, I just was I just want to go out here and run. I just want to go out here and have fun. And my dad took it super seriously.
It's always funny. The parents always take more seriously.
Yeah. So, but I actually went out there and I think I ran a 100 and got second place. and it was probably like something smaller because for a little too, yeah. So, and then I also did the shot put, which is like a softball and throwing the softball, and I got 2 awards that I still have to this day. And I think that's where like my competitiveness kind of started to grow from there.
So it wasn't participation trophies?
It was not. Participation trophies came after my time. Here's your competing trophy. Good job.
Good job. Man, I got awards.
The gift certificates too, man. You can't
Yeah.
Gift certificate.
Yeah. But I think I think it's something that, as I also played high school football. I went out for basketball. That wasn't my thing. Couldn't quite get that ball to bounce around the way I needed it to.
He was building houses with those bricks.
Dang. But I mean, I've always been pretty athletic when it comes to like playing any types of sports. Just being in control of your body is something that is really hard. To some people, they have 2 left feet is what they say. So.
No footwork.
But yeah.
Light work.
But yeah, so I think I've always had a pretty good like play with sports, and doing sports. I've never been a big follow sports type of person.
Right.
Yeah.
I think for me it goes both ways, right? I really love watching sports. To this day, you can ask both my mom, my dad, my uncles. For some reason, I've always remembered sports stats and everything that happens within sports when it comes to sports stats in the background.
Give us one now.
My mom was like asking like, "Where's Paul Gasol from?" The Gasol brothers, just like they're from Spain, mama.
Yeah.
There's just little something like that. It's something simple like I don't know. I can't. You ask me a question, I'll try to come with it, but I can't. It's like not right.
How many home runs does Barry Bonds have?
762 actually.
Ooh! I want to check that real. Let's fact check that.
Fact check me real quick.
Let's
but
fact that.
when it comes to that, it's just like when sports, like one of the biggest things that we've done was playing baseball. Right, baseball was a huge part of our family. We played basketball with CYO, nothing too big with AAU. I think it was harder for us to play travel, trying to do travel, was because for the longest time we were raised by a single mom. And yeah, it was 762.
762, dang.
It's just like we're raised for the longest time before my mom got remarried. We're raised by a single mom, so she was working as a nurse during the night times, and so doing Little League in our local area was easier. But trying to do everything traveling, you have to pay for it, relying on all the transportation, having other parents take us. It just didn't really fly. It just didn't really fly with us at the time. Don't get me wrong, it would have been dope playing travel ball, but that we just didn't get the opportunity just because our circumstances were different. Even to a point where our mom was so dedicated to us that she managed our T-ball team. Even though T-ball is such a small little thing, it's just like the fact that she's working full-time mom, full-time nurse, and she's managing our T-ball team. That was a lot of dedication. So I think that's why baseball really drove us to really, we did it for moms. I remember one of my best games I had when I was a kid was I threw 13 strikeouts. As a pitcher and
wow.
in 6 innings, and then I still have that game ball to this day. 7-0 we beat the A's against the Twins. And it was just like I was like 10, 11 years old, and even then it's just like I'm 24. That was like 13 years ago. It shouldn't really matter too much, but it's just like baseball, we excelled. We really did. As soon as we got older though, we were playing for so long, we just lost the love of it. When you play something for so long, you lose the love of it. But basketball is something I've always loved. I think it was just I fell in love with the sport all over again working for the Warriors, because being set in like the corporate environment but watching everything that happens in the backside of the Warriors, but as well as like how you actually see them play, it's like, dude, this is dope. It brought me back to my middle school days when we were playing. That's how I became really my best friends, who are also our stakeholders, Marcus and Cameron, playing on the schoolyard, playing on the blacktop, playing on the middle school teams. That's just something that you share. And I think a lot of the times when it comes to sports, you build a lot of valuable relationships. That helped me characterize, be able to build character. It helped me to become as hardworking, because the thing is, we're not about the participation trophies. We're not. We were always the teams that either, if we finished last, that was a horrible season. But the thing is, my teams in Little League always competed for championships and all-stars to TOCs, which is tournament and championships. So tournament championships for Little League is when you win your city's division and then you play against other cities within the district. And I was on 3 of those teams. and it's just that, and that's what meant a lot. But I think it really, sports really does build character and helps you socialize. And a lot of those friends you become real close with, because the thing is, you're spending a lot of summer days, like some time with your teammates.
I think also participation trophies. I think it gave you an ability to figure out and deal with a loss, because it's a feeling. A loss is a feeling that most people don't like, or some people don't like, or we lose in everyday life, and certain things you fail. I think a famous quote is, "If you're going to fail, fail quickly," but you have to grow from those situations, and I think that that's what is helpful with sports, is because when you lose, some people have this feeling that they do not want to have that loss again. So they go and they put in the dedication to train harder, to do more drills, to study more, and actually look at the tapes and figure out what it is that they can do better. And I think that that's something that takes a lot of dedication for people in sports and brings a lot of drive to it.
Definitely, just going through sports, and just kind of like, for me especially, like I wasn't, when you first start something, you're not the best at or like good at it, unless you have God-given natural talent, right? To a certain extent.
Not us, but
but like, so there's a certain
it's in the genes. All right, go ahead.
Anyways, certain level of time, work ethic you kind of have to put in, right? You learn life skills in the sense where it's like nothing's given per se, right? You have to earn your time to play. It's a right that you earn to be on those all-star teams, like whether it's winning an MVP of a season or just kind of on a smaller scale, like various games or tournaments, just anything. You learn that you have to perform all the time, and when you're complacent, you get kicked back to the bottom. You have to build your way up again, right? As well as Navar mentioned, just being able to process losses. I think that is a valuable skill you learn in sports, right? Because I think that shapes a lot of the competitors you see today. Just even the top people, whether it's in business, just in any field, they had those growing pains and those experiences that they kind of help mold them and kind of propel them forward, right? So
I think one thing that really teaches me a lot of character is doing Muay Thai. Muay Thai, is a sport in kickboxing, but it's called the art of 8 limbs. So you use, your punches, your kicks, knees, as well as your elbows. So all 4 of them, you with both times at 2 times 4, 8. But the reason why they taught me a lot of character was because I remember to get to the more you go to training, is the better you get. That's just the bottom line. But the thing is, you ask the right questions to become better. Because I remember when we do our sparring sessions, and I'll be kind of beat down just because I was like, man, I really got my ass whooped today. But it's also coming to a learning circumstance. It's like, all right, I got whooped, but now it's just like, all right, I'm gonna go to training the next day, make sure I work twice as hard so I understand asking the right questions to really put in the work, so I actually know I'm not getting outperformed. And that's what I really like about the fight game, because you can tell who trains and who doesn't. Someone that just shows up all right, I'm going to just do it off of my natural talent. Well, they beat that. That's what I like about our home gym, our home Muay Thai gym. Shout out to May Striking Arts. They're extremely, they make it like a home. It's a family. But they really weed out the individuals who are cocky. And, I've been to some gyms, just visiting, trying to see what they're like. You could tell the cocky individuals that are in there and just all right, that's not who I want to be with. That's not how I want to perform. But that's what I really like about the fight game. The fight game really, really weeds out those individuals. Don't get me wrong. When you see UFC, boxing, and everything like that, there's a lot of talk. And I get that. That's in a competitive environment. And you remember sometimes when you go into the ring or into the cage, you really are fighting for your life, because the thing is, one hit, may he rest in peace, Patrick Day, age 26, 27, just recently passed away from his brain injuries from a boxing match, right? Wow. It's just something like that where, it's hard. It really is. But that's why you prep yourself the way you do, so you can defend yourself. That's why they say, the ref says before the fight, protect yourself at all times. Because even if the bell goes off, or the whistle or whatever, it's just sometimes you get hit. It happens. It really does. But that's what I like about the fight game. But it's also, when it comes to martial arts, it really keeps you they're like the martial arts people are like the nicest people you'll meet. Like the longer someone does it, is just really realize just like they're super nice, and you won't even know. You'll be talking to someone and just like, oh, well, dude, they're a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which
because they have this secret that they can secretly kick your ass at
yeah,
any point
exactly.
in time.
Like they're so
you're gonna be laid back.
I'll be super
so
laid back. Like, nah, you're not even worrisome to me. Like,
yeah, but the thing is, when you add all that sports and everything that we do, it's like it's a lot of life lessons are taught, and I love it. I love that fact. I mean, that's my hobby is Muay Thai. You know, that's what it is. I love basketball. But it's also, you know, sometimes basketball discourages you because you're playing with folks that are ball hogging, don't pass it, like ball hogging, always shooting it the first time they get a chance, and then they're always like trying to try out for the Warriors, especially 24-hour on Bayfair. It's just like that's not fun to me. That's not fun basketball. But when you train with martial arts, people are real supportive. People want you to get better. You ask the right questions, and they'll help you. You know, that's what it's all about. It's a supportive environment, and that's what you kind of thrive in a supportive environment that helps you get to where you need to be. And that's what it should be for family. It should be with friends, work, sports, all of that.
So with that, what is it, between, all of us? What is it that brings that idea of continuing to thrive with sports? Like, what is it about sports that keeps you coming back? What are you getting out of it? I know you kind of highlighted there are some things that are beneficial to your growth, but there's a lot of things that are beneficial to your growth that you don't do. Like, I mean, you should be eating tons of vegetables every day, but you don't do it, So I think...
We try.
A little bit. Yeah.
But with that, I mean, what keeps you coming back? What is that driving factor that keeps you coming back to sports, and why is it so important in the roots of who you are?
Yeah, I would say sports is like something I'm truly passionate about, right? Mm-hmm. Because I've seen how it impacted my life in that sense. And I think now just kind of being a personal development junkie and kind of understanding the mental side of things and trying to harness that is really interesting to kind of see. Like, I was just reading a book recently called Relentless. It was by Tim Grover, Michael Jordan's trainer, and just talked about kind of the subtle things that really separate like those who are at the top of their game versus those who are just coasting by, and kind of seeing that now when I watch the game or two, you can kind of see some things that are different, like kind of the subtle mannerisms of kind of like what makes like LeBron or Steph who they are, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's a good way to kind of just, I guess, connect those two dots per se. But again, I think it's more of a passion, but at the same time, right, I think there's a level of growth where I look at things now. It's like that's cool, like the Warriors, right? But at the end of the day, I'm trying to win in my life, right? Yeah. I think I focus on my identity and kind of honing and growing that, as opposed to just living vicariously through sports, right? True. I think that's the biggest paradigm shift, I would say. Before it used to be like, as a kid, it was everything, right? Now it's just that's cool at face value. Like, don't get me wrong, I have like my favorite sports teams, like the Lakers and the Niners, but
you fake.
Lake Show
all day, man.
Show.
I wore it for a reason. But at the same time, I got to win in my life for my family, like everyone around me. So that's kind of how I connect those two.
I like what you said about how I have these accolades that I'm focusing on. I got to run my life, but the thing is, it's cool what the Warriors are doing, right? And there's one book that I read called "Get Off Your Attitude" by Ryan Lowe. Something that he highlights is he went to LSU, right? And then the biggest thing is watching these guys be on the football field on TV or actually being there and dang, these guys are living their dreams. But what about my dreams? You know what I mean? The dream is to be able to play in the World Series, bottom of the ninth, 3-2 count, bases loaded. You're the guy. You're the guy that it's either you strike out, you go home. Pop fly, you go home. You lost. But if you come in with a clutch hit, then you won it, and you're forever in history for the team and in the October history for the World Series. That I came with a clutch hit. That's your dream. But the thing is, sometimes as that weeds that out, what's your actual dream? These guys are working on theirs, but I can't. What about mine? What do I want to do? But I think kind of bringing it back forward, when it comes to sports, it's just, it helped me build relationships, valuable relationships. I'm still close to a lot of the friends I have right now from middle school because we played on the football team with each other, because we played on the basketball team with each other. But it's also this, like, I'm not going to lie, the schoolyard bullshit that we did on the blacktop and on the turf field just playing as just kids. And that's the thing, though, that's all our only worries was because of that. And, you know, that was a nice thing as a kid, but as we get older, you know, life kind of takes over and we have responsibilities, of course. And sometimes you lose sight of, like, what made everything fun. So I think going back to sports has brought joy into what we do, but it also humbles me. Something that I like to sing about with athletes and stuff like that is the swagger that comes with doing sports. And, you know, you have that own swagger because of what you do as a hobby with basketball, with Muay Thai for me. It's really helped me become real centered too as well, you know? I'm real centered. I have a question for you guys though. When was it that you guys realized you guys want to be pro in the sports that you were playing?
Repeat the question one more time.
When did you figure out that you probably weren't going to make it to the league in anything, any sport you were playing?
I think it was when I went out for, I was looking to go out for college football, go play college football at like my local community college. Then I realized I was thinking about going and practicing, but I just found out that the difficulty of actually getting there was a lot harder than, you know, they were already looking at the people that they wanted, and just the process to practice for their team was just really vetted. Like, they really needed to like be honed in on wanting you there, because my school was at the time, they were like really focused on pulling people, the best people that they could, so they can, you know, be the best that they were, which most schools are just like that. But when I realized like it wasn't as easy as I thought it was to actually go out and practice, I was like, okay, this is definitely not for me. So that's when I was like, oh no, this is not going to happen.
Feel it. My senior year in college.
Badminton. When did you realize badminton was a professional sport?
Or jacks?
Crazy part is that was
Jacks.
that was never the case. But no, I think just kind of with basketball being like my favorite sport and kind of just trying to see that through as much as possible, I went to a scrimmage run with like some JUCO people at DVC, and DVC is like one of the top junior colleges, like as far as basketball, right? And so
Trust me, I go there.
yeah,
Shout out to DVC, College,
DVC,
go Vikings, you know.
And so just going and scrimmaging with some of those guys, it was just like, yeah, there's levels to this, as Meek Mill would say. And so it was like, no matter how much I per se could have put, like from an effort standpoint or just like work ethic, there's just, you know, I think as you see the levels, like there's just a lot of things that play a part into that.
Right,
and so
right.
some is out of your control. So I mean, I think that was kind of what it was
I think when it really hit
eye-opening moment.
Yeah, I think when it really hit me, I've always wanted to go baseball player. I think one of the biggest things, like I love baseball growing up as a kid, from the video games to just going out on Saturdays, doubleheaders and stuff like that we had, like especially the spring. Like the spring, once baseball starts, you got the new baseball glove that mom's just purchased, and the new leather smell, new baseball bat. I just loved all that, not just the accessory, but performing. I love doing that. But I think when it really hit me was like, all right, I started losing the love for the sport. I feel like I really could have pursued it a lot more in high school and really stand out. But at the time I was more about business. Like, it was funny because back in the 7th grade, I still remember this conversation. So this guy, Mr. DeGrazia, right? He was our basketball coach, but it's also a PE teacher. I remember he was asking, so how come you didn't try out for the basketball team? And I remember I had this idea where I wanted to make business cards and then put all these different accessibilities where I'll garden do your leaves, I'll mow your lawn, do all these different things as a personal assistant. And I was tossing them out to people. And I would rather do that, make side money, than actually try out for the 7th grade basketball team. And a lot of my homies, like, you know, Cameron could attest to that I've always been entrepreneurship, starting from middle school. Middle school, I was doing people's homework for $1. And for $1, they would, like, I remember saving up to buy a skateboard with all that, you know? And that's also because I was getting 4.0s throughout middle school.
Hey,
you know what I mean? So I was like, I would remember their handwriting, write it down like that, and they would just put their name on it. And here's my homework, their homework, because I was always right. Like, I was basically always right with the things I was doing.
All those statistics you were remembering, man.
Yeah, all the statistics I was remembering, but it's just like, it was crazy because like I would rather do that. So I think when it really hit me was just like I lost the love of the sports. I would still play basketball like for CYO and for Bancroft like my 8th grade year, but I just just didn't really care for like making it to the professional because I understood that there's other ways to be part of sports that's not being the athlete in it.
Yeah.
So I understand that at a young age, and just I was okay with it. And it's also because I reached the 5'8" and I couldn't become 6'4".
Dang.
But
Shout out to those genetics.
shout out to the genetics. That's one thing I don't understand. My brother's 6'1", but my dad's 5'7", my mom's 5'2".
Yeah, that's what you 5'8".
Your dad's
Hey,
what?
huh?
You said your dad's what?
My dad's 5'7", my mom's 5'2", and my brother's 6'1".
Well, this,
But we also, our uncle who's actually in town right now from Atlanta, he's 6'6", so he gets it from that side.
I'm telling you, man, it's
He's 6'6".
Shit, does he who?
packages.
He swam. He's a swimmer, and in Panama, people don't really realize that. But in Panama, like they like with the racism and segregation in Panama, people didn't realize like so they couldn't swim in the pool. Where they learned how to swim was in the canal, and became strong swimmers because the canal has different currents with trying to swim against the current that the ships produce. Like they became strong swimmers, and I think that's a lot better Olympic practice than actually swimming in a damn pool.
True.
Yeah, but it's so it's just like that's just one thing when it comes to sports, what it means to me. But this was our first episode of the UnAthletic podcast. People, if you think that we know what we're talking about sports, you are right. If you think we just sound like unathletic fools, you are also right. Navar, Ahdi, thank you so much for being a part and actually being able to extend for the UnAthletic podcast. My name is Ahira, and we'll see you later.